Welcome to Losing a Child, Always Andy's Mom. On this podcast, we journey through the devastating experience of the death of a child. Grief is seldom discussed openly in our culture, and the death of a child makes people feel even more uncomfortable. We approach the topic openly and honestly, speaking to people who have lost loved ones and experts who help care for them. Whether you are a parent experiencing loss or someone who wants to support another going through this tragedy, this podcast strives to offer hope and help.
Welcome to episode number 317 of Losing a Child, Always Andy's Mom. I'm Marcy Larson, Andy's mom. Today, I am delighted to introduce you to Michael. Michael is the dad of Chloe and Lily and the husband of Constance. He lost all three of them tragically in the Gatlinburg wildfires that you will hear about in this episode. He wrote an amazing book that we will certainly talk about at length as well. The book is called The Million Stages of Grief, and I really couldn't recommend it more. I also want to announce a sponsor for this week's episode, and it is really, I would say, ironic because I didn't think about this until just as I'm about to announce it now, but this sponsorship was done by Marcy in memory of her son Michael, which I find really ironic since obviously Marcy is my name and Michael is the guest today. But it, I guess, was fitting that Marcy would want to sponsor this episode in memory of her son Michael. Any longtime listeners of the podcast may remember Michael because Marcy was on the podcast talking about him in episode 96, and they are the ones that started the Boredom Busters. If you remember, Boredom Busters actually started in 2004 when Michael was still alive, and Boredom Busters supplies games and toys and other little fun gifts to kids when they are in the hospital. And I read on their website that they reached 40,000 Boredom Buster bags delivered between 2004 and 2024, and their goal for 2025 was to expand their outreach to even more states, and I know that they've been able to do that. So if you want to find out more information on Boredom Busters, you can visit their website at boredombusters.org. If you would like to share your story on the podcast, feel free to email me at Marcy, M-A-R-C-Y, at andysmom.com. If you would like to donate and sponsor an episode in memory of your child or another child, you can do that through the website as well. Right now, though, I just want you to sit back and enjoy listening to Michael, Chloe and Lily's dad, and Constance's husband. Thank you so much, Michael, for agreeing to come on the Always Andy's Mom podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
I am really thrilled to have you. I just finished reading your book, so I'm going to tell everybody that you have a book before we even get started, but it's beautiful. It is really a beautiful book. I've told you that I have read many, many books on grief. I've had many people come and share their books on the podcast. And you are the first one that I told my husband after I finished, you have to read this book. So just so you, all of you know, this is how strongly I feel about this book. One of my partners in the office, he lost his wife to cancer a few months ago. I said, you have to read this book. I told Gwen, who does episodes with me, you have to read this book. So I've told many people, like specifically, they have to read this book. And I just love it that much. So I can't wait to talk to you about that. But first of all, I just want you to tell us about your family.
I am a proud father of three.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a husband, I'm a widower, I'm a father, and I'm an angel dad. In 2016, I lost my wife and both of my little girls in the Gatlinburg, Tennessee wildfire.
Yeah.
My son and I weren't home when the fires hit, and we drove into the fire to get to our house to save them. And what we drove through that night still haunts me to this day. I still have PTSD, anxiety, obviously depression. We found out later that the entire mountain burned down in 8 minutes.
8 minutes. Wow. That's just really hard to wrap your head even around. That's something that could happen that fast, right? Because you had no idea this was coming.
No,
Yeah,
not at all.
yeah.
So, Chloe is forever 12,
Okay.
and Lily is forever 9. Nicholas, our son, is 24 now. He's got a full beard. He's all grown up and has his job, and it's amazing how quickly the time flies. You know,
Because at the time he was a teenager, right? He's your oldest.
15. Yeah,
Yeah, he was 15.
and it's weird. I've had a really hard time trying to envision what my girls would look like today.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if you've gone through those feelings too.
Mm-hmm.
They're forever stuck at 12 and 9
Yeah.
inside of me.
Uh-huh.
Chloe is the most amazing, loving soul that has ever graced this earth. Oh my gosh, she was everyone's comfort, and she was always my princess from the second she was born, and she knew it. After they had passed, one of her teachers came to me and handed me a stuffed animal of a ladybug. And she said, I told my class one day that I was having a bad day. And the next day, Chloe came in and said, I want to give you my favorite ladybug to make you feel better.
Really? Oh, that's so sweet.
She was the best of us. Lily was my sass.
Yeah.
She's my diva. And man, could she put her hand on her hip, let me tell you. Oh my gosh. Oh, she's my spunky one. She would get dressed for school in the morning, and she'd come out in this ridiculous outfit that she knew I would never let her leave the house in. And I'd say, get back in there and change your clothes. And she'd always look at me and go, you're such a jerk. And she'd turn around in the clothes on that she just did it to get to me. And oh my God,
Yeah.
I miss it so much.
Yeah. I know. I'm sure you do.
So my wife is forever 34. Her name's Constance. I knew the second I laid eyes on her that she was
Oh, did you?
I knew it. Our thing was going to amusement parks. We would go to a different amusement park every year for our anniversary and ride rides together. It's different when you lose a spouse
Mm-hmm.
than it is when you lose a child.
Yeah. I'm sure.
It's a different type of grief. But to have to handle both of those at the same time, it's been really hard.
Yeah.
And that's a big reason why I wrote the book. I spent many years in what I called the darkness.
Yeah.
And I talk about it a lot. It literally was a cave, a dark, cold cave where you can hear water dripping in the background. And all you hear is your own heartbeat.
Yeah.
It's very easy to get stuck there.
Oh.
I thought I had to stay in that darkness to keep them with me.
Yes. Yes. I would 100% agree with you. I felt that way with my therapist a lot. It was my therapist that first said to me, you know, your grief is not what keeps Andy close. And I lost my mother too when I was quite young, and I really never dealt with that. So when I was in therapy after losing Andy, I also had to actually kind of go through therapy for that loss as well, because I just didn't do that well in college. But your grief is not what keeps them close. Your love is what keeps them close. So trying to focus on the love instead of feeling like I had to hang on to that intense sorrow every moment of every day.
I realized one day that to keep them with me, I had to step out of the darkness.
Yeah.
And that's where my story really kind of begins.
Mm-hmm.
It took years to get to that place. And I still have days where I'm not sure if that's the right place or not. You know, the anniversary of the fires is November 28th. And every autumn, I crash. Every November, I crash. Even though I've known for the last 9 months, November's coming.
Yeah.
When it comes, it still just cripples me.
Yeah.
And that's where the book originated. In 2023, I ended up in the hospital, middle of November. Thought I was having a heart attack.
Mm-hmm.
And they hooked me up to all these machines, and I swear I laid there forever. And the doctor finally comes in and says, Michael, your heart's fine. And I realized, even though my heart's fine, it's broken.
Yeah.
And that's what needs to heal. So on the anniversary of the fires in 2023, I went to the memorial. And I sat down, and I had a really long talk with them. And I said, I cannot let this date on the calendar destroy me. I have to do something on this date positive.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I have to go through another year of that darkness, I'm not going to make it.
Yeah.
And my son needs me. So I listened. And we'll talk about this later, but they come to me in their own unique way. My wife comes to me as a butterfly. And as I was sitting there talking to them, a butterfly flew right in front of my face. So I knew they were listening. And so I listened a little more. And I swear to you, I heard Chloe say, Daddy, it's time to do the work. So I went home and I enrolled in college. Yes, I want to help people professionally,
Mm-hmm.
but getting my degree also teaches me so much about me and why I'm still so broken.
Yeah.
And why I'm still so traumatized. So I'm now a junior, 4.0 student.
Good job.
Just got accepted into the Alpha Chi Honor Society, whatever that is. But I bought a t-shirt that said it, so, I'm happy. But I've learned so much, and it's through what I've learned in college, what I've learned through my own pain, that the book came about.
Yeah.
So a few years ago, I was awake in the middle of the night, and I'm just writing down my thoughts, and I still have pages and pages and pages of stuff that I've never put out there, just of where I am in that moment on that day.
Mm-hmm.
And I always wrote things down so that I could go back later. If I opened up my notes right now and went back a year, I could see where I was mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Have I made any progress yet? And so that's why I started writing. Well, one day I just took something that I wrote and I posted it on Facebook. It went nuts. And I'm like, okay, maybe I should start a blog. So I started a blog, and I, once a month, once every few weeks, however often it came to me, I would just post where I was that day mentally. And I garnered a very big following from that, and everybody said for years, "Will you please write a book? Will you please write a book? Will you please write a book?" So finally, in addition to going to college, I told the girls I would start working on the book.
Mm-hmm.
So for those that haven't read it, each chapter is broken up into 2 parts. The first half of the chapter is italicized, and that is one of my moments over the last 9 years where I felt lost or confused or scared. And then the rest of that chapter is everything I've learned in school, everything I've learned through my experiences in my own therapy to learn how to heal from those things.
Well, and I've got to tell you, I mean, I don't know if you are aware of how many of those blogs came from the fall of 2018 into early 2019. But of course, that hit me so much because I lost Andy on August 15th, 2018. And many of those posts were, I mean, you had one that was on my birthday that year, which was the 2-month anniversary of his death. And there were just several that were there. And so I couldn't help but think back to where I was then. Or there was January 2019. There were all these different things that I kept thinking of. This is where I was then. Or when you were writing, it had been so long since the death. And I think, where was I then? And I think that's why it was so powerful to me too. Because first of all, those dates were just, many of those were just so close to when I had my trauma. And I started thinking about how that might have impacted me had I read those things at that time, which obviously I wasn't doing it. Like lots of those posts you wrote, and you wrote it for other people. Like, I'm not at this point where I can do this, but I think this is would be a good idea to do, or things like that, like talking about different steps kind of and healing. And I don't want to say stages, but it's sort of, because you use that term in your book, the million stages of grief, just talking about how there aren't 5 stages of grief, there are millions, and they all just have a little bit of a different piece. But that's, I think, why it hit me so much, is because I thought about where I was then, either at that moment, that date, or at that point in my grief journey. So super powerful.
And I wrote it for 2 reasons. The first reason was I wanted to challenge the notion that there's 5 stages of grief.
Yeah.
I mean, that we've been taught that since the 1900s.
Yeah.
That the concept of the 5 stages of grief was developed by a psychiatrist named Elizabeth Kubler-Ross.
Mm-hmm.
And she developed those 5 stages based on research with people that were terminally ill.
Right.
And if you think about it that way, if I knew I was dying, I would first be in denial, and then anger, and then bargaining, and then depression, and then acceptance. But it's different when you lose.
Right. And it was really never her intention to switch that over like that. Those were the 5 stages of dying, and that's what she did everything on. She was a huge advocate in hospice. She was an amazing woman. She did a lot of amazing work, and that was never really the intention. But that is what kind of came about. It was this kind of easy way to kind of put a cookie cutter to it, and to tell people, when you're taking your general psychology course, this is what grief is like, for people that don't really know what the heck grief is like.
Yeah. So that was the first reason I wrote it. And no offense to her anyway. She was a godsend. She was a visionary, and I'm just little old me.
Yeah.
Over here trying to scream, wait a minute, y'all have been wrong this whole time.
Right.
So that was the first reason I wrote it. But the second reason I wrote it was because I wanted to teach the world just how connected we are to each other, and we don't even know it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is really, really important. I cannot tell you how many people have come up to me and said, I lost my mom a few years ago, but that's nothing in comparison to what you lost. And I cut them off right there. Grief is grief. If the only hurt you've ever experienced in your life was losing a pet when you were a child,
yeah,
well, when you cried for that loss, that's the same tears that I cry. And that bonds us. And that means that we can help each other. And if I can use my hurts to help you with your hurts, suddenly you've got the power to help somebody else with their hurts.
mm-hmm.
And that's how we change the world.
Mm-hmm.
And that is my vision with this book, is to change and to change how to live with grief.
And you're right. Your worst pain ever is your worst pain ever.
Absolutely. Yep.
I can think back going through my life what my worst pain ever was, right? And obviously, I think my worst pain ever early in life was we moved. We moved a lot, and it was sometimes kind of traumatic and hard to move, and that was my worst pain ever. That still might be somebody's worst pain ever, and that's not diminishing that. That was hard. That was hard. And then my parents both got cancer, and that was my worst pain ever. And then my mom died, and that was my worst pain ever. And then Andy died, and that was my worst pain ever. It doesn't matter, like what you say. It doesn't matter in some ways what it is. It's just that's the worst you've felt.
Yeah. Yeah. And one loss is not greater or lesser than another loss. It's the same sadness. It's the same tears. It's the same depression. It's the same longing to have that person right here that you can hold. And if we can just tap into that, this world would be such a better place.
Yeah.
There's division everywhere we look, and I am not going to get political. But there's division everywhere. What if the hardest moments of our lives can bring us together.
Yeah.
You know, and that's my purpose.
Yeah, I like to give out bracelets to bereaved parents and also to people who are struggling. So, I'm a pediatrician. I am now in my 50s, so I see lots of teenagers, and I see lots of teenagers. They're going through a lot of anxiety and depression, and they're going through their worst thing ever, and their worst thing ever may not seem that bad to other people, but to them it is, right? And so I often say, so many times kids come in to the office and they start by saying, I know I shouldn't feel blah, blah, blah. And I stop them right there and I say, I don't care how you should feel. I don't care one bit how you should feel. I care about how you do feel. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how you do feel. And I will challenge parents because I have parents in the room that don't understand why their kid is feeling a certain way. And they feel like they should be feeling something different. I mean, this shouldn't stress them out this much. This shouldn't do this. But, my friend Gwen always says, don't should on yourselves. So I tell them that too. Don't should on yourselves, right? But I don't care about that. I care about how you are feeling. And then, and then I hand them a bracelet. And then my bracelets all say, be still. Andy's favorite Bible verse that he really clung to was be still and know that I am God. And I have it tattooed on my arm. I have his thumbprint with a necklace and be still Andy on the back of that. I wear one of my be still bracelets every single day. And I hand those out just to remind people to be still. And it's amazing to me because now I'm 7 years out and I kind of feel like people have forgotten because they don't really talk about him anymore. I mean, it's just not brought up. And this year, my office was doing a walk for Fit Kids. It's kind of a little organization to help kids get in better shape. And so they did a walk and it was like 20 some of my, the people that I work with. And it's the day after the anniversary of Andy's death. And we weren't going to be there because we always kind of do something as a family together to honor Andy. So we went up to our cottage. But I said, do you think people might want to wear bracelets to honor Andy? And it blew me away how many people wanted one of those bracelets. And that most days now, so this is August, and we've now been over a month later, most days I go into the office and one or more of the staff in the office are wearing one of the bracelets today. And I didn't know. And I had even said, I was like, I don't know, I think people just forget. And one of my partners said, we don't forget. We just don't know what to say. So then they tend to not say anything because they don't know what to say. So they don't say anything. And I went down to our billing office the other day and 2 of them were wearing my bracelet. And I said, you don't know how much that means to me. And she said, I think about you and him every day. I mean, my billing office hardly knew Andy. They made, he popped in the office every once in a while, but they didn't really know him. But, he's still making a difference. And for her, she said, I'm not really that religious of a person, but that phrase just helps me. It just helps remind me. So anyway, it's really powerful. It's really powerful.
Our phrase was 1 Corinthians 13:13.
Oh, is that? So you've got that tattooed? See, I'm showing my tattoo.
Yep. Faith, hope, and love.
Yep.
And I've also got her heartbeat, my wife's heartbeat, and then my girls' names.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Trauma is like a newspaper. And that traumatic moment is the headline. And every day you wake up and you go outside and you get your newspaper off the porch and you open it up, it's that same headline every day.
Yeah.
For you, it was Andy's gone.
Yeah.
For me, it was Gatlinburg wildfire. Every day, that's my same headline.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody else moved on.
Right.
And so I completely get what you're saying. And this story was international news. I still have people that recognize me all these years later. And the one thing that I say to them every time is thank you for never forgetting.
Yeah.
And for a long time, I couldn't talk about it. it was too traumatic to try to process. And then one day I just said to myself, I want to talk about them because they're my world,
Right?
and aside from college and all the book stuff, I'm also a zipline instructor. And I did it on purpose 5 days before the fire was Chloe's 12th birthday. And we were riding rides at Dollywood Theme Park. I worked there for many years, and she wanted to do their ziplining for her birthday, but they were closed. So I promised her the next time we came to Dollywood, we would zipline together. And then 5 days later, they were all gone.
Yeah.
And then I woke up one day in 2020, and I was like, if I become a zipline guide, they can fly with me every day.
Yeah.
And I've been there ever since. And that's actually my background is one of our zip lines. And I have a little patch. I talked earlier about they come to me. So my wife comes to me as a butterfly because she had a butterfly tattooed on her chest.
Uh-huh.
Chloe comes to me with a ladybug. The very first outfit I ever picked out for her before she was even born was a little ladybug onesie. And when Constance was in labor, there was actually a ladybug on the ceiling. So we always called her Ladybug, so that she comes to me as a ladybug. And Lily comes to me as an owl. That was her favorite animal. She loved owls. And wouldn't you know, I think it's maybe been 5 or 6 years now. One day an owl showed up on my property
Oh, yeah.
and just stared at me. And I'll make sure I'll send you a picture of that so you can include it too. But I named her Glory. And she has a boyfriend that I named Frank because he's kind of stupid and doesn't know how to land right. But every spring, they have babies, and those babies come in my yard and eat. And I know that's not my daughter.
Yeah.
That's my daughter.
Right.
So that's one thing that I also try to talk about in the book is the people that we lose are still with us. They're always with us. And a lot of times when we get traumatized, we only can look at life like this.
Yeah. Just through a little hole. Mm-hmm.
And it's understandable. But if you can learn to look like this,
To open up. Yep.
you'll realize that they've been with you the whole time.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times butterflies and ladybugs land on me. I see the owls all the time. I go to the dollar store and there's an owl nap in a holder. I'm like, really?
For me, it's cardinals.
Really?
Cardinals. Oh, 100%. It's so crazy. It's just like all the time. Whenever I mean, cardinals are certainly common, but it'll be I'll go out and sit on the deck and I'll just hear a cardinal. A cardinal will just be singing and I'll look and there it is, just sitting up in the tree, just singing to me. And I just feel like it's Andy singing to me.
Isn't it?
I mean, I just do. And it's beautiful. And it's
comforting.
And I will ask God for cardinals sometimes, on his birthday. Was his birthday or anniversary of his death? Anniversary of his death a couple of years ago. My husband, of course, took the day off. We went for a walk just at the Y, and it was just hard. It was just a hard day. And I just said in my head, I could really use a cardinal about now. And we got in the car. We drove about a block, and a cardinal flew right past the window. And I said to Eric, did you see that? And he goes, oh, yeah, it was a cardinal. And I said, I just asked God for a cardinal because I just needed the cardinal right then. So, and we've got a silly story too. So, I had a mom on several weeks ago now that her daughter is Maeve, and she started like right the week that we were being interviewed. She saw this little boy and girl cardinal together, and and she ended up writing to me, and because she was feeling like that little cardinal was like her little Maeve. And what was funny is that she wrote to me, and the day before, I, for the first time, had not seen one cardinal, but two. It was a pair. It was a boy and a girl. And I thought, that's funny. Because I never see two. It's always just one and always just a boy cardinal. And now there was this girl and then she told me that story. And I waited until she was on the podcast, and I sort of surprised her with it because I said, the day before, I just was just so strange that I suddenly saw two. And since that time, we went up north the next weekend, and there are cardinals that come to the bird feeder, and it's almost always the first bird that we get there is a cardinal. But there is this silly little girl cardinal that continues to try to fly into our living room. And it flies in and hits the window, and I keep thinking she's going to hurt herself, and she will fly in 2 or 3 times, and then a male cardinal will come and basically guide her away from the window so she stops flying in the silly window. And then they'll end up going to the feeder and she stops flying into the window. But it's so funny that it's like literally every time we go up, my other son was like, what is going on with this cardinal? This little girl cardinal will not stop flying into the window. So I just feel now like it's silly little Maeve trying to fly into our living room, and then Andy comes up to her and like, no, no, honey. And it's not like you. It's not like I think it's actually Maeve and actually Andy, but yet, a little bit of me feels like sort of is, right? It sort of is.
It's comforting.
It is comforting.
I could be having the worst day I've had in a year, and as soon as the butterfly lands on my shoulder, I'm okay.
Yeah.
It's funny when I the day I published the book, I sat there at my laptop and I had not clicked the word publish yet. I was just sitting there staring at it. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
big day. And I looked up and I said, girls, I am completely giving this to you. However big you want this to go, however many people you want to read it, I give it all to you. And then I click publish. And a month ago, I ended up going viral on TikTok. Somebody crashed into me while I was at work. When you're ziplining, don't kick the guy that's catching you, because she kicked me right in the face.
Oh.
But that happened like 5 years ago. For some reason, last month, she posted that video on TikTok. And it went viral, like 1.5 million views. And I'm like, I don't even have TikTok. So I created my own little TikTok page, and I just put one little post about my book on there. And then I went to her post, and I'm like, hey, I remember you. And just left a comment. Well, then it went really stupid. So I took that little 10-second video and I stitched it to talking about my story and the book. And it's had over 2.5 million views.
Wow.
That's my girls.
Yeah. I mean, whatever would have made that woman decide to publish that 5 years later? That just has to be your girls. I mean, it just has to be. Nothing else really makes sense.
And when it clicked into my head, my girls would have loved TikTok. Lily was my dancer, and she'd shake her hips anytime you'd let her, and I could totally see her on TikTok. Just, I would have never thought of TikTok as a platform, but my girls did.
Yeah. Well, it's very funny because, my husband had a podcast. He had a medically based podcast that he started a few months before Andy died, because he was only about 20, I think he was 24 episodes in or something. So it wasn't that far into it. But he had this podcast, and Andy would always ask him, Dad, have you gone viral yet? Have you gone viral yet? Like, no, dude, I've not. I'm not going viral. And then he died, and he sang for the Grand Rapids Choir Men and Boys. He had a beautiful voice, just voice of an angel. If you listen, all of you listening now, if you listen to the very end, that is the solo that he sang at the last Christmas concert before he died. It's the third verse to Way in a Manger, and if you listen to the words, it's about being in heaven. And what's crazy about that is that was the rehearsal. That was the rehearsal, and I had not heard him sing it. I'd not heard him really just sing by himself much. He started singing, and it was just beautiful. It was beautiful. I was just there in the rehearsal, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I need to record this. And I'm fumbling with my phone, and I finally hit record. And the director, he finishes his solo, he stops him, and before that's the end of the song. And the choir director looked at me and he said, did you get that, Mom? No, he looked at Andy first, and he said, that was perfection. And then he looked at me and he said, "Did you get that, Mom?" And I said, "I only got the last 21 seconds. It's fine." And he said, "Oh, Andy, looks like you're going to have to do it again." He made him do the whole song again, sing the solo again, so I could record it. And after he died, my husband posted that on YouTube and Facebook, and I think it got like 100,000 likes or something. So not 2 million, but still. And we said, "Well, Andy, I guess you went viral. Dad didn't." So, but it was so special to me. And that video is on my website now. If you go to andysmom.com and you go to the front page, you can click on the video, and that's the video of me recording him singing that solo. And it's so special because it was just done for me. Like he didn't need to do it again because he had done it so well the first time.
Did you ever go through a phase where you were really angry at God?
Yeah. Yeah, I really was. For close to a year, I think I was. Probably 10 months. My husband never was. Never. He was angry at the situation. He was upset that Andy felt kind of robbed. We felt like his life was robbed. But I was just angry.
Did you ever get to a place where you realized that God knew what was going to happen, and that's why you were able to record that video?
I knew that from the very beginning. And to all my listeners who already know this story, I'm going to tell the story again. And funny thing, it's the second time I've told the story today because I was on someone else's podcast earlier today. But I feel like Michael needs to hear this story. So when Andy was about 7 years old, he was in school and he was supposed to draw a picture of his family. So he had this big sheet of paper. He drew had a big tree, had the sun up in the corner, drew a picture of his family. I picked him up from school. He's talking about this picture the whole way home. Like I hadn't gotten to see it. It's all rolled up in his hand. He's so excited. He can't wait to show me the picture. We get home, and before I can even get him out of his booster seat, he is unfurling this picture to show me this picture because he's so proud of it. And I look at the picture, and there are 4 people in the picture, and our family had 5. And I'm kind of a little bit irritated, and I'm sort of wondering, who did he leave out of the picture? Is he mad at somebody? Who's not in the picture? I don't really get who's in the picture. I said, "Andy, why are there only 4 people in the picture? Who's not in the picture?" And he looked at me and he said, "Oh, I'm not in the picture, Mommy. I'm not going to grow up all the way. I'm going to be in heaven." And what's crazy is I knew in my heart of hearts that it was true. I knew it was. I hated that it was, but I was like, this is going to happen. I really feel like this is going to happen. And I freaked out about it. I told quite a few people. I told my husband. I told a lot of my friends. I was so bothered by it. Soon as he forgot about the picture, I threw the picture in the trash. I didn't want to have anything to do with the picture. I didn't want that to ever happen. But yet, the night Andy died, my husband and I turned to each other. It's not even been 3 hours. He said, "Remember the picture?" And I said, "I can't think of anything else. I just keep thinking of that picture." And how he was right. Because he grew up to 14, but he didn't grow up all the way. And he's in heaven. And so I feel like that was known 7 years before it happened. So all of those other little things, I do think it was known. I do think... Now, does it help me? Did it help me in the day-to-day, in my just aching and missing Andy in my heart and wanting to hold him? Did not help those things. But in the grand scheme of things, knowing that he was okay, and he was totally okay with it. Like, he was not at all upset when he told me he was going to be in heaven, that he wasn't going to grow up in the way. It was said very matter-of-factly. Like, he was cool with this idea. This was not a problem in his mind. So I guess that's the answer. That's kind of the long answer to your question. But do I think it was a gift for me for then? Absolutely. Because 100% we knew it was going to happen.
Constance and I had always talked about getting each other's heartbeats tattooed on each other. She had to see a doctor every month for some mental issues that she had. And every single month, we'd be like, all right, let's get an EKG and get your heartbeat, and I'll get my heartbeat. Let's go get our tattoos. And we just always put it off and always put it off and always put it off. The first time they ever came to me was a few weeks after the fires. And I was sitting in the bathtub, and I had my hands on my legs like this. I'm just sitting there. And I felt something push my hands into the water. And I heard her say, remember, clear as day. The last time she had gone to the doctor to get her medications refilled, her blood pressure was high. So they did an EKG.
Oh, wow.
That's how I have her heart. And that was when I first started getting really angry with God.
Yeah, right.
As that meant he knew what was coming.
Yeah.
So oh God, that's that story of that picture.
No, it's a powerful story, and one that I share often because it has brought me comfort. But I understand the other side of it too. When you knew it was coming and you could have stopped it, but you didn't. Right? And that's why I think a hard thing to get back sometimes is that trust. I think that can be a very hard thing. It's hard. Anger is hard. Yeah. And obviously you didn't have this, but it was, in some ways, it was really hard for me to have Eric not angry. Because I was so angry, and then I couldn't understand why he wasn't. I think that can be hard too. I remember when we had our court date, and my brother-in-law spoke, and he was angry. He was still angry. I had gotten over my anger by that point, but he was still angry. And I had all sorts of people, especially early on, that would tell me, it's okay to be angry. You have righteous anger. Righteous anger is fine to have. And I'm not saying it wasn't fine to have some anger. And certainly I felt like I can be angry at God because God can totally take it, right? God can take my anger, and God can handle my anger, and that is fine. And I got past that. I worked on that, and I felt like, you go back in the Bible and people can be angry with God. That is not bad, but it was not me. Like, I lost myself in that anger because I am not an angry person. And so even though everybody under the sun was telling me it was totally fine for me to be angry, it was totally fine for me every time I saw a white BMW for me to just about, want to hit it with a sledgehammer, right? Every time I saw a woman who looked kind of like the woman who hit us, I would get angry. Everyone was telling me it was okay, but it really was not okay. Like, I was not okay feeling that much anger because that's just not me. I'm not an angry person. I'm a pediatrician. I think it's in in our DNA to not be angry people. I don't know how you can do this job and be an angry person.
I used to go to the grocery store and see couples holding hands or see dads with their girls, and I hated them.
Yeah.
Because, and they could be the cutest father and daughter you've ever seen. They could be having this beautiful moment together where they're holding hands. Don't take it for granted.
Yeah.
And yeah, for a long time, I hated everybody because their wife was still alive or their daughters were still alive. And, you go in the store and you hear some lady screaming at her kid, and you just want to smack her in the back of the head and say, lady, stop.
Right.
Right.
I recently wrote a chapter in a book, and this is what the chapter ended up being about, but it was maybe a year or two after Andy died, probably a couple actually, and we had to go to Old Navy. I had to take the kids because we had to do back to school shopping, and I hated doing it. I really, because that's August. August is really hard for me. November's your month. August is mine. And we're in Old Navy, and I'm having to do this stupid shopping, and I looked at this frazzled mom that was in there with her 3 little kids doing back to school shopping, and I just looked at her, and I just got bitter because she was there with her 3 little kids. And I was thinking to myself, what would you do if the middle one was gone? Right? Those are the thoughts going through my head.
Yep.
Just this little bit of bitterness. And all of a sudden it hit me. I don't know that there didn't used to be 4. I have no idea. I don't know that her sister didn't just die last week, or her husband left her, or they lost their job, or I have no idea. I'm looking at this frazzled woman thinking, you don't know how good you have it. She may not have it good at all. And it was a huge epiphany for me. It changed my outlook so much because I went from that attitude of looking at people thinking you don't know how good you have it to me thinking, I have no idea what's going on in their life, because I thought she looked at me and she saw me with 2 teenagers in there doing back to school shopping. She didn't know that there was a middle one and that my heart was broken. She had no idea because you couldn't see it from the outside. Nobody saw that from the outside that day. So anyway, it was a huge moment for me. It really changed a lot.
Yeah, I had that same type of epiphany. I don't remember exactly when it happened, but yeah, they say time heals all wounds. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
Um,
No question.
but time does change how you look at things.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird how, different circumstances, but the same type of story once again.
Yeah. Exactly like you said. We all go through different traumas and different things in life, but so much of that can tie us together and we can learn from each other. I mean, that is why I absolutely cannot tell you people enough how much I really love this book. I really, really do. I feel like every chapter went through something that I've thought or I thought about, or some things that I hadn't even thought about yet, on like the idea of having acceptance versus the idea of closure, that you don't really have closure. And acceptance is not a finality. Acceptance is something that you work through and you continue to kind of strive. And so those are things. I think you touched on all the different emotions that you feel with grief so well. On some of those littler ones, the ones that you don't expect to feel, those are things that kind of hit me as really powerful.
We will never move on from our loss, but we do have to move forward.
Yep.
There's a difference.
Yeah, no question. There is a difference. Oh, and then I wrote this down because I wanted to make sure to talk about this sentence that you wrote in the book too. Feeling joy does not invalidate your grief. I loved that. Because we can feel joy again, and it's beautiful and wonderful to feel joy again. I just did a live stream last night, and it was on laughter, on the importance of laughter in your grief and how it can be a beautiful tool. If you can, I mean, it can really, really help you in your grief and feeling moments of joy. Now, feeling joy does not mean that you now have a life that is all joyful, that is all, rainbows and beautiful. It's feeling those moments of joy. It's moments.
And it doesn't mean that you've forgotten.
No.
And that's a really big point, because I was stuck in that for a long time.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not allowed to smile. I'm not allowed to go to an arcade with my son. Yeah. If people see me laughing, well, he must not miss his family very much.
Yeah.
And Andy doesn't want you to cry. He wants you to smile.
Right. That is definitely true, but I also think to myself, he's not going to be mad at me when I do cry, because he was an emotional kid too. If I died, he would cry. He would understand. He would want me to be happy. You're 100% right. He would want me to be happy, but he would understand the tears too. Anyway, I feel like I'm more okay with myself and giving myself grace to be able to feel it all, especially too, because Andy was a kid that felt it all. He would have, hit a bad golf shot and the world was ending. And then the next time he'd hit a great golf shot and suddenly he's on top of the world. He was just that kind of kid that his emotions were all over. So he's going to understand that I can laugh and cry in the same hour. And it's beautiful that we can. And that doesn't make our grief any less or any more, really. It's just feeling, allowing yourself to feel. Mm-hmm. So tell people how they can get your great book.
You can access my website. It's themillionstages.com. It's available on Amazon. It's available at Barnes & Noble, Books A Million. It's even on Walmart.com now.
Okay.
You believe that? Wow.
I know it's on Kindle Unlimited because I have Kindle Unlimited, and so I just got to read it on my Kindle. So anyone that has Kindle Unlimited, it's just you can just get it there. You can just read it there.
And I just launched in the UK, so on my website, if you're in the UK, you can get it now.
Like I said, it's just beautiful. It is beautiful, and I really wish and hope so many people read it. It's just meant a lot to me, and I just feel like it's going to help so many people. So thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing your girls. Okay, I got to tell you, I have a horrible fear of heights. I've never, ever thought about ziplining. We've been in Gatlinburg 2 times. We'd go on family vacation. We went over spring break a couple of times, and I'm feeling like if I get a little brave, maybe I'll have to find you there because you would be one that I could do it with, I think.
I'll give you a Xanax. You'll be fine.
All right. Well, thank you again so much, Michael.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening. If you found this helpful and would like to support the podcast, please leave a 5-star rating and comment. To help financially, you can type Andy's Mom, one word, to the number 53555. This provides a link to GiveButter, which allows donations through PayPal, Venmo, Apple Pay, or credit cards. GiveButter will provide a receipt of your tax-deductible donation, or you can visit the donation page at andysmom.com/donate. Always Andy's Mom is a registered 501c3 and can receive donations through Thrivent Financial and Benevity. Marcy loves hearing from listeners. Please feel free to reach out to her via email at marcy@andysmom.com or on the Instagram or Facebook Always Andy's Mom accounts. Sign up for the email list to get weekly episode links as well as pictures of Marcy's guests and their children. Together, let's work to inspire hope, one day at a time.